Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. Welcome to another exciting episode of the EntreMusician podcast. This is the space where we concentrate on the mindset, the discipline, and the focus of the EntreMusician. And today's episode, absolutely no exception whatsoever. In fact, today we're actually doubling down on MDF, if you will. You know, it's an interesting book that Simon Sinek put out years ago that everybody was flocking to. It made a lot of sense, and that was the title, Start With Why. Remember that book? If you don't, you should avail yourself to it, because really in anything that you possibly do, if you don't start with why are you doing it, then obviously it's done. You know, you have to have the motive, the intent right out the gate before you do anything. And a question that we are answering, or I should say, attempting to answer to the best of our ability, is why MDF? Why mindset, discipline, and focus are the foundation of what is the EntreMusician. And, we solved that problem early on, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when we were thinking about not only doing this podcast, but building the EntreMusician community, as well as the course. If you go to iClassical Academy, of course, we're updating this course in September of 2024 on mindset, discipline, and focus. And obviously, the book that we wrote about the path of the EntreMusician, 9 Keys to Unlock Your Mindset, Discipline, and Focus. And that came out in the fall, late summer, early fall of 2023. And is it 2023? I might have that date wrong. It may have been earlier in 2023. I remember writing it as late as 2022. So I'm off to a great start. But with respect to that, we early on begin setting forth the reasons of why, but our why is not something that we talk about. And as our community continues to grow, I'll tell you about that in a minute, but as the community continues to grow, especially on the international front, I have found that one of the questions that we are asked with respect to doing our podcast, building our community, meeting weekly online, offering the coaching and the collaborative opportunities that we do offer, why are you just focused so much on MDF, on your mindset, discipline, and focus, rather than all of the other mechanics that recording artists, music producers, publishers, music industry, executives of whatever level really have to deal with? Why MDF? And so I'm like, well, wow, never done a podcast about it. Obviously, we've talked about it. It is part of our internal dialogue, but I guess we're not talking about it enough. Hence, this episode today, because what we want to do is rectify that situation, again, as best we can, so that if you're just stumbling upon the EntreMusician website at theentremusician.com, if someone invites you to one of our Saturday or Sunday Zoom meetings, which happens, every week, except for appropriate holidays, of course, you will know why the EntreMusician rests on these 3 legs here. We're a 3-legged animal: mindset, discipline, and focus. So the first thing you should know, and again, you can go back to other podcast episodes. You can check out our courses, which we have on iClassical Academy concerning MDF, and get some literature from there. Or you can jump on any Zoom call with us by going to this link right here and scheduling a 15-minute call with me. Will get you, ramped up and ready to go so that you can join us on Saturday or Sunday. But you would know, just in passing, that the reasons for mindset, discipline, and focus, as far as an EntreMusician, or at least what it stands for, mindset, we always say, is our position. I'm not going to go real deep into this. This is a part of the course, this is a part of the book, but mindset obviously is a position, whether you take an offensive position or a defensive position as a musician. You have to have your mindset intact. It actually starts with that. You can't get out the gate with having a position of authority, a position of accomplishment already in your mind, that this is something that you're going to do, that no one can stop you from doing it, that you're going to achieve what you have set out to accomplish. So you take a position there. Again, there are some positions that you take offensively, of course, initiating certain things, and then there are defensive positions that you take because there's a lot of things that come at you that you're going to have to stop from happening, divert, and learn how to use your discernment in order to make sure that you're doing things correctly in either zone. Discipline, we say, is a progression because discipline never stops. Discipline is moving forward, onward, onward, onward. It's just like going to the gym, lifting weights, doing your workout, whatever your routine is tightening it down, becoming more effective at it, more efficient, and making sure that you are forming the correct habits, that you are forming the correct culture. When we're talking about your organization or your team that you're working with, and you're progressing forward, you're always advancing. So that's your discipline. So mindset, discipline, obviously focus means precision. I didn't say perfection, but it means precision, so that you are making absolutely sure that what you are looking at is beyond the obvious, is beyond the surface, and you're going down into things that are not immediately apparent to you so you can hone in on those things, like a brain surgeon, like any good chemist or biologist or what have you. Have you considered your music career to need that much of a precise focus on this is who I am, this is what I do, these are the songs I sing, these are the songs that I'll never sing, this is my brand, this is how I market who I am? I mean, just being precise and being able to hit it out of the park every time you possibly can. I was going to just step on my tongue on that one because nobody bats 1,000. Nobody has home runs all the time, but your batting average, I'm using a lot of sports analogies today, but your batting average is improved because your precision, what you're looking at, what you're aiming for, what you're going after is so precise that, wow, your margin of error is so very, very small. And that separates the legendary icons from the average Joes who are just out here swinging at everything that comes their way. I hope you get that. Okay, so I told you what mindset, discipline, and focus is from our definitions and our perspective, but I still haven't told you why. And why is vital? Because when we began the EntreMusician, it really started as a conversation of what could possibly be. This was right before the shutdown, right before 2020, when we began to do these podcasts. And the purpose of the podcast was because I was trying to expand what the EntreMusician would mean. I've always wanted to help people. And as I began growing older in age, right now as of this recording, I'm 59 years old. And so I'm headed toward 55, and I'm thinking, wow, life is really changing. I'm doing what I know to do. In music, I have a rear view mirror where I'm very happy for some of the experiences and some of the places that music has taken me. However, you know what? Just to be honest, I'm not really happy with where I am. And there are still many things that I would love to accomplish that have not yet been attained. So that was kind of my backdrop. And I figured because I had an experience as a radio DJ and a talk show producer on air, that I could utilize my radio background and begin entering into this world of podcasts to talk to young musicians who would be coming up behind me about things that they should not do. Meaning, don't make the same mistakes that I've made, because if you avoid these things, I should say, then you will probably make it a lot quicker than I did. But there were certain things that I never did at the beginning, which got me into a lot of trouble, which caused a lot of obstacles and detours to come my way. And I want to share with you to avoid these these bombs in the minefield, so to speak. So I began to interview people, and my heart was to interview the most prominent people that I could, while at the same time not ignoring those people who have just dropped their first CD or EP the week earlier. Because I felt that, we could all learn from each other. So I'm going to give some tips. I'm going to provide some whatever wisdom that I can provide, and I'm going to begin interviewing these people, whomever would agree to come and be on the podcast episode with me. And that went off like a hitch. I'm really very grateful for the way that happened. Utilizing my contacts on LinkedIn, I was able to meet up with Linda Bolero, who's an associate professor of voice at Berklee College of Music. Great interview. I remember the first time like it was last week, although it's been several years ago. She gave me a lot of insight from her perspective, not only of being a professor and a vocal coach, but working with different artists and helping to hone the things that they needed. So that was an insightful conversation. And then, as fate would have it, I met the late, great Vance Anderson. Vance just passed away this past October. What a great friend he was to me. And man, you can go back and you can watch that very first interview that we did together, and different background, everything here on the podcast. And just to hear his story of the caliber of musicians that he'd worked with, he had worked with Pat Metheny. Can't get Pat's name out of my mouth. I was thinking of Lyle Mays, who's was Pat's keyboards player. Of course, he's gone. He's passed away now as well. But having run sound for those guys, for John McLaughlin, for Paco de Lucia, and just, those caliber of individuals, but to also have been the road manager for the great Tony Bennett for 20 years, nonstop, before his health, Vance's health, took a toll on him. But the stories that he had and the experiences that he could draw from, Tony Bennett, greatest of the great up there as far as entertainers are concerned, and just a powerful, iconic figure in the world of music. And hearing directly from Vance, as to what those experiences were, and him having a spirit to be able to take my phone calls after the podcast was over, and we became good friends. And we began talking about the possibilities of what the EntreMusician could be. And then I called Linda back, introduced Linda to Vance, and then an old friend, and I mean that not because we're old men, we are, but, the experiences that we have had together. His name is Daryl Looney, who's a jazz violinist, and Daryl and I had been friends since 2002. And the four of us just got together to have this conversation about this thing called the entrepreneurial musician and what it might mean. And we settled on the three words that I gave you earlier: mindset, discipline, and focus. But why? Okay, because we're looking at expanding the topics of the podcast, but it just kept coming back to these same three things. No matter who we talk to, no matter who we interview, no matter the mechanics of what they do, because we don't have many shows. We just did one about vocal production, and Robbie Robbie Cunningham did that. He did that podcast episode. That was just a week or so ago. But the mechanics and how to, and this is how you file your copyrights, and this, well, there are a lot of podcasts who will walk you through the mechanics of what you should do in those instances, and your distribution, your marketing, your publishing. Daryl, as you probably, if you've been following this podcast, knows, he's our metadata strategist. So, expert at making sure that your metadata is right, on point, and online. We have done some of those shows, but that's not what really identifies us. So, why MDF? Why mindset, discipline, and focus? Because, first of all, it doesn't matter your age. Now, generally, the EntreMusician, again, in our early conversations, and still the undercurrent, is we really cater to musicians and artists who are over the age of 50. I guess they say like attracts like. And one of the things that we found about those of us who are in this age group is that for this music industry, things are spinning all of the time. And there are those of this age group who can be a little insecure about how to get on the hamster wheel and kind of make it work for you. How do you do that? And we talk about those elements of mindset, discipline, and focus, which help them to be a little more encouraged and be challenged in a healthy way of getting on that hamster wheel and pushing the right buttons and doing the things that you need to do, because you've already settled in your spirit that you are able to do it, that you are able to achieve it. So the first point is, it doesn't matter your age. Mindset, discipline, and focus, once you harness that, then you could be 14 or you can be 84. In fact, one of our oldest members, Thomas Alexander from Canada, just turned 75 in late February and is having an amazing singing career in his part of Canada. Singing at the clubs, did a Ray Charles review, did a Motown review, just really enjoying life. But when he first joined us, he was 73 years old, and he took our course. He was talking about what he didn't have. He was talking about what he couldn't do. And one day he's going to come on and tell his story. So I'm not telling it for you. But man, to see him now and to see the work and to hear the body of work that he is creating, and he's so proud of it. And he's proud to be able to tell his children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren now, even the accomplishments that are still ahead of him that he has on his planner to be able to do. That's fantastic. So that's why MDF, number one, it doesn't matter your age. Number two, it doesn't matter your genre of music. It could be country, it could be metal, it could be rap, it could be funk, it could be hip hop, it could be soul music. It doesn't matter. Your mindset, discipline, and focus have to be on point, no matter the genre that you're covering. In fact, it's going to take different elements of MDF for a particular genre, especially now. I've just released, just in this past week, an old R&B tune that was originally recorded in 1991. Okay, so there are elements of MDF that I'm bringing to the game that I didn't need back in February when we released our single Tomorrow Today, and that's with my band Sound Doctrine. So the genre of music that you're in are going to pull certain components of MDF that are going to be necessary for one genre that is not absolutely necessary with another. But to know them, to know the three components and be able to harness them for your particular genre of music is only going to help. Just like genre, it doesn't matter what instrument you play. If you're a drummer, guitarist, saxophone player, whatever the instrument. Of course, when you talk about discipline and you talk about the discipline of practicing, not just practicing, but practicing correctly, because practice doesn't make you perfect, right? Or practice doesn't make perfect. It is appropriate practice and doing things the right way, holding your instrument the right way, sitting the right way, your discipline on that instrument, your mindset, your focus, what you're trying to accomplish, what separates you as a guitarist from this person or that person. Say, for example, you're this type of we talked about Pat Metheny earlier. I'm stumbling over my words here a little bit, excuse me. But if you're one type of guitarist and you're modeling yourself after Pat Metheny, but you're also listening to Norman Brown and you have a little Wes Montgomery or George Benson, it could go on and on. There are different types of mindset, different types of discipline and focus apparatuses that need to be, apparatus may not have been the best word, but you understand what I'm saying. When you are approaching your instrument from their perspective and trying to model yourself after that, you can have a little bit of that. But at the same time, discipline says find your own voice. So I can pull and draw from these incredible guitarists and from the inspiration that I feel when I hear their music. But at the same time, in order to brand myself, I'm going to have to do that. I know that makes sense. You can go back and rewind it and get that, especially when I stepped on my tongue yet again. But your age, your genre, your instrument, it doesn't matter which realm of your music career you're in. Some people are just performers. Some people are just music producers. Some people are just songwriters, right? Some people are session musicians. Others are the recording artist that takes center stage. Some are just engineers, whether they're recording or mix engineers, which is different from being a mastering engineer, and on and on. You understand. You could be a manager of a band or a manager of several bands, right? You can be in just distribution. You can just work with an artist as far as marketing is concerned. It doesn't matter. You know this already. If your mindset, discipline, and focus is not on point, then being a manager of a great band is not going to help you. In fact, they're probably going to leave you in the dust. And by the time you get to the next expiration date of your term of contract and they don't renew it, how was your MDF while you were helping to lead their career through the process? It's absolutely necessary. And MDF, why MDF? Because the level of experience will call for MDF. Whether you are a beginner, golly, gee, you're going to need a lot of mindset, discipline, and focus. But if you ask the person who has been in the game for 35 years, how much MDF do you think they need? Okay? It's important. There's that degree of, oh my God, things have changed in this industry. Oh my God, this has happened and I wasn't expecting that. And there are twists and turns in this road of music that this has absolutely got to be sharp. It must be. It has to be. And that's why MDF is so important. So when we were talking about this, what is going to be the leg that we stand on? We can talk about this, and yes, we can talk about that, and yes, we can discuss this, and yes, that can be a podcast episode, yes, and yes, when we get together as a community, which I'm still going to tell you about, we get together as a community, these are some of the key things that we want to make sure that our membership knows. But if it doesn't stand on the floor of mindset, discipline, and focus, if those three legs are not on that floor, then it falls apart. Finally, the last thing, and it may not be the last thing totally, but it'll be the last thing we talk about in this episode, is why MDF? Is because we don't know what the future holds. But we do know this. Whatever it does hold, you're going to need mindset, discipline, and focus in order to deal with it. The big word continues to be artificial intelligence, AI, all of these websites coming about whereby you can now create music from scratch. You can send in a prompt, boom, and it's done. You can say, I want, Jay-Z to rap my new song. I want, Wilton Felder from the Crusaders. I want him to play the saxophone on this song, and it is able to reproduce in seconds. Okay, what does that mean when it comes to your mindset about your career? What does it mean when it comes to your discipline? Especially, we just talked about practicing and sitting correctly and holding your instrument right and getting the most you can out of your particular performance. But if people around you are just pushing buttons and you have spent your life becoming the best pianist you know how to be, where does mindset, discipline, and focus play a role on that? You absolutely have to know that it does. And what's behind artificial intelligence? What's going to be the next generation of streaming and platforms and music distribution and the way that people experience music? Now it's primarily by phone, but what's the next devices? What about virtual reality? What about, where are we with Bitcoin now? I mean, are we still pre-Bitcoin and there's a lot to go, or is that a thing of the past? I don't hear much about it anymore, but crypto was like the urgency currency, right? We just don't know, but we do know this. We know that if we keep our mindset on point, we know that if we are disciplined within ourselves and who we're going to be as EntreMusicians of every realm, we know that what we intend to accomplish, once we see that thing and we go for it like a bulldog, we can get it. Doesn't matter what technology is doing. Doesn't matter what culture is doing. It doesn't matter what the socio-economic situation looks like. It means that we are settled within ourselves to be who we were purposed to be when the Lord placed us on this earth, and nothing can stop us. That's why we have decided to focus. I was trying to use another word, but focus on MDF, mindset, discipline, and focus. That's why. That's why. Finally, I would ask for your reconsideration, because our community is growing and we are grateful for it. Now, it is growing very, very slowly and very organically, and I personally wouldn't have it any other way. I will tell you, and I will admit that at the beginning, I was thinking, oh man, we need to have 100 people. We need to have, as we're growing, we couldn't handle 100 people, nor should we. We can't handle 250 people yet, nor should we, because what we are creating is so unique to making sure that these gifted musicians are doing, and there's nothing like, I know I'm cutting myself off here, but listen, there's nothing like seeing Ladina from Finland, or a Nenad Savetichenin from Serbia, or Vlado from Germany, or a Thomas Alexander, or Anna Nicholson from Canada, or Linda Rain from Canada, or, as I said, Daryl Looney or Robin Williams from Philadelphia. Grow and thrive. And an Oviante from Memphis, Tennessee. And a Nathaniel Rhodes from Cleveland, Ohio. Grow and thrive and put their music out and follow the steps, not only of MDF, but the mechanics that we teach through our community, our coaching, and our collaboration with each other, and see them absolutely kill it. There's nothing like it. So we are inviting you. As I said before, go to this link right here. Make sure you schedule 15 minutes with me, and we will help you get started into the community. We meet on Saturdays at 10 o'clock, and this is primarily for our international members. Now, some members from the United States gets on. I forgot to mention our dear brother and friend, John Bruce, who is the founder of Stage Dive. He's out in California. He's a bona fide EntreMusician. And with his company, the new as I said before, next generation of streaming platform, Stage Dive. He is making some inroads to offsetting the nonsense that we have had to wade through with the streaming platforms of the soon to be past, because there's a lot of stuff going on. Not for this podcast episode, but we will be discussing them. Now, here we go. Here's what we want you to do. Sign up. Schedule a call with me. Am I pointing right? Am I pointing? Where's my finger? There we go. but sign up. Let's spend 15 minutes talking about your career, talking about where you want to go. And you could come and join us on both days. Saturday at 10 a.m., again, for our international community, or Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Both of those are Eastern Standard. And these are for our members in the United States. And I tell you what, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience of watching and helping to develop and talking through and asking questions and challenging each other and pushing back on different things to see what has grown from 4 years ago when we were talking, 4 or 5 years now, when we were talking about what the EntreMusician could possibly be. So I'd love for you to become a part of it. I'd love for you to join us. I'd love for you to hang out with us. Blair White, I forget, if once you start naming names, oh my gosh. But there's so many wonderful people who are a part of this community. Terry Bay, just fantastic work. You guys are doing fantastic work. I love you. I know you're watching this and wondering, how come you didn't mention my name? I'm sorry. So very sorry. Many blessings to you all, though. You know who you are in my heart. I love you. I look forward to seeing you this weekend. And I look forward to seeing you, my friend. Tell everybody you know about the EntreMusician. Visit our website, join our email list, and then jump into the community. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician. So are you. We will see you next time.